my terrible handwriting. All right, homeschool families in Connecticut, they're trying to get government files on your students, and this isn't a joke. The politicians in Hartford are using a tragic abuse case to justify their expansion of regulation of homeschooling. And let me just break down what's actually happening there. I'm Emily Fort with the Homeschool Freedom Coalition. And right now, 2 bills are moving in Connecticut that homeschool families all over the state and really honestly all over the country should understand. But first, I want to give a quick update from last night. The House Education Committee in Connecticut heard HB 5468, that's the nastiest of the bills. Well, they're both nasty, but it's the nastier of the two. This is a major homeschool regulation bill that we've been talking about. We ran videos, I made videos about this sort of legislation will be coming. I said that months ago, and now here it is. They had their committee meeting yesterday, and homeschoolers showed up in force. I'm so proud of every one of them. I watched hours of the testimony. Families testified. I think it was literally till 5 a.m. I think it was like 17 hours of testimony, and almost all of it was from articulate, bright, smart, well-prepared homeschoolers that just like nailed the whole topic. They explained why the bill threatens homeschool freedom, why it's not needed. I see this morning that a lot of people are celebrating that amazing show of force. And they're saying homeschoolers were heard loud and clear, which if you were in there for 17 hours, I don't know how you could have missed it. But here's something that people need to understand, and this isn't the fun part. At the end of the hearing, the committee did not vote on the bill. They thanked people for coming. They thanked them for their testimony. They thanked them for being engaged in the process. And then they cut the camera and they sent everyone home at 5 a.m. They just moved on. Okay, and this happens all the time in state legislatures. If you watch any hot button issue that draws a lot of political heat, you'll have seen this move before. Politicians hold a big hearing. They know they're going to get some negative headlines. They're prepared for that. They get lots of testimony, dozens of hours of testimony. We had this in Texas last year, 2 days of testimony on a bill that passed anyway. And that's what I'm worried about. That's what the Homeschool Freedom Coalition, everybody here is worried about. We know they do this on purpose. Everyone gets to feel heard. Everyone spends their time and their energy and their money and their effort to go to the Capitol. It's kind of nerve-wracking to do this for some people, for many people. And, you have to prep your comments. You want to make sure that what you say is somewhat unique. They don't want to hear the same thing 500 times. And you want to make sure they understand all angles of it. So people put in a ton of effort into feeling heard. And the legislators on the committee, they sit there and they go, thank you, thank you. Then a few days later, tacked on at the end of some 10-minute committee meeting that almost nobody's in attendance for and almost nobody's watching the live stream, they just vote to move the bill anyway. And then the pressure's off of them because it's on to the full floor now, right? Now nobody's who's gonna follow up with those committee members? No one. The pressure's off them now. Now we're scrambling because the bill is moved forward. We have a new committee, or in this case, the House to deal with. So we've seen this trick many times. Now, just to reiterate, every homeschooler who testified did a fantastic job, but our job is not done yet. And I think basically until every homeschooler in the state is heard, we're not finished until this bill is dead in committee, dead on the calendar, dead for the whole session. And the session in Connecticut doesn't end until May. I think sine die is May 6th, I think. So if you live in Connecticut, this fight isn't over yet. Click the button below, take action, email directly to your legislator. I don't care if they're on the committee. That's another thing. We are not holding our communication to the legislature to just committee members if we live in their districts. If they are ever going to face a bill that regulates homeschooling this year, they need to be hearing from us right now. So click the button below, take action, be heard by your legislators, and help us keep up the pressure. We need to send a message to the politicians in Hartford that they're not going to wear us out with a day or two at the Capitol. And, letting us be heard on a Zoom call is not going to buy our silence, going into the rest of the legislative session. Homeschool families are paying attention, obviously. We showed that yesterday. But we're going to keep paying attention. And we're going to keep paying attention specifically to the people on the committee and bring attention to the role they're playing by representing the whole state. When you're on the committee, the education committee, every vote you make affects every homeschooler in the country, in the whole state. So there's no universe where we would pull our political punches, so to speak, and only let people who live in their districts communicate with them. When you're on a committee, you're speaking for the whole state. You're going to hear from the whole state. We know that the minute people stop watching, right, the minute I've done my part, I took a day off work, I trucked all the kids out there, we got Chick-fil-A. I've done this as a kid, as a homeschooler, growing up homeschooled. I did this myself. But I know that once everybody leaves the Capitol, that's usually when the bills are going to move. So I just want to encourage everyone. It was fantastic what happened yesterday, but we have to keep up the pressure. Absolutely have to keep up the pressure. There's no modification of this bill that makes it acceptable. There's no amendments we're going to tolerate. The bill has to be killed, and our legislators have to hear from us immediately. So right now, take action, share this video, get involved in this fight here in Connecticut. In the meantime, stay free, stay the course.